Are you ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Okay, let's start then. I would like to warmly welcome everyone to the 9th talk of the Edzői SEM community. My name is Fruzsina Szendrei, and today I'm joined by Carlos Vallejo, Mark Kovács. Was it good?
Was awesome.
I would like to thank for accepting my invitation. Hi, both of you, and welcome here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Hi,
much.
guys.
It's a pleasure to being here also, and with a great person as Carlos. So it's gonna be exciting this interview, this podcast.
Yeah, for me, I'm just honored to be here. Thank you for having me. And always good to talk about basketball, especially with you two guys that I have nothing but respect and admiration for you.
Let's have it. You can find a brief summary of the coach's previous professional background in the description. So let's start already. And Carlos, I'd like to ask you about your maybe some preconception of being a Spanish coach in Hungary. What kind of situations do you have, or what kind of, if I can say like this, what is your most important view of being a foreign, maybe coach in Hungary? How is it feels to be Spanish and work here?
The thing is that my Spanish condition is the reason why I was brought here to Hungary. Because as far as I know, Mark's brother was asked when he was coaching here about the Spanish coach. And being Spanish is like a pedigree for the coaches, probably because of the examples or the role models that we have. And that was the only reason why I came here. I came to Sopron and nobody knew me. Just the only thing that they know about me when I came here is that I was Spanish. Well, I'm having mixed feelings about that because I know a lot of Spanish coaches who are great coaches and a lot of them that are not so great. So being Spanish is not a thing that takes for granted that you're a good or bad coach. I mean, it's true that we have a different education, culture, we are really competitive, but it's, I don't know, probably Serbian coaches is the same. There are a lot of good coaches, some bad coaches, the same as Hungarian ones. Yeah. For me, it's different culture, totally different culture. When I came here, okay, that was 6 seasons ago. I had to adapt my philosophy to the background of the players and the culture of the country. I feel like, yeah, please.
Yeah, sorry. I just feel that sometimes what you said, that we are just happy that if we can have some Spanish coach, doesn't really matter what is the background of him, but if he's already Spanish, then we are fine with him.
Yeah, that's, in my opinion, bullshit. Because,
yes.
Yeah, I insist. I know a lot of Spanish coaches that are not, I don't know, hard workers. They are not prepared. They are not the Spanish good coach that out of Spain people supposed to take for granted that we are. No, there's a bunch of good coaches, bad coaches, like everywhere else, I guess. It's true that we have a huge culture of our education is really good, in my opinion. The 3 levels that we have is not a official degree in the university, but the federation organizes these courses. They are pretty good. We end up being well educated. But I think the most important reason why we are successful is our competitiveness. And that, yeah, we have always a good coach to beat, and that forces us to get better, and we are addicted to get better. Or at least the group of friends that I have who are coaches in Spain are kind of the same than me.
What is your education based on? So is it rather practical?
It's both. It's theoretical and practical. There's 3 courses in fact 4, level 0, level 1, 2, and 3, and only the third one is national. Until the second one, it's by regions. So in Alicante, Valencia, and Castellón, this is the Valencian community. There's organized by regional federations, the courses, and after that, when you pass the exam and you do the practical aspect of the second course, then you can make the third course, which is, I don't know, yearly is like 200, 250 coaches, more or less, that you go to a city in Spain and every day is different. And then you spend like 15 days there for finishing the course that has the online part and the presential one.
Mark, you're often introduced as like Adrian's younger brother. How do you handle that narrative around you?
Like, it's a little bit different my situation that Adrian has when he come here, because Adrian is come like Carlos in a new city, new people, new everything, and for me, I think it's a little bit easier because I talk a lot with him, and he introduced me, I think, everything. He helped me a lot, and I have an idea when I come here in the first day, and I know something about, but I need to live with it. So I need to work on it. I need to learn about the culture of this basketball, and what say Carlos, Spanish is way different of what we are doing here. I just moved to Spain when I was 10. I do my all coach life there. So for me, it's also a different country, different culture, and I don't want to say I adapted, but I'm doing my idea here. So that's it. So it's a little bit different, but I expect what we are doing here.
What do you think the main difference is?
I think there is a lot of things, but mainly the coaches who wants to really work, or the coaches who really want to enjoy this, it's the best way to show everything he knows in, like we learn in Spain. So the intensity, the talks with the young players or with the players, the way that we think, it's an example. There is an exercise, and Spanish people make in 1 hour just thinking about the perfect exercise. And I think here it's a little bit different of, like, okay, there is an exercise and let's do it in 50 minutes. We get everything. We talk what is the I don't know how to say, the
Focus, maybe?
Yeah, the focus points of every coaches, but in Spanish is something different. Carlos know it. We was in Elite Jove. It was like a crazy camp that you just talk about basketball, and there is only exercise that you can talk in 1 hour and give everything of that exercise. It's an example.
Thank you very much. So let's dive into today's topic, which is the integration the young players in the senior team. Our talk is built around the everyday questions and dualities the coaches often faces in this process, if I can say like this. As a short introduction, let's start with a report that shows the youth players' opportunities at the European Championships in the last 3 years. Carlos, you've been the head coach of the under-20 Hungarian national team. What do you think the most important goal for the youth head coaches is? What's supposed to be the main goal? Is it rather about managing the talents, but rather about winning?
I think that's a very interesting question. And I have to say that I think it really depends on the coach, because from the federation, in my first year, I had the only clear goal, that I was finishing in the top 8. So only they talk about results, about the goals that they set for this generation. In the second year, they didn't set any result goal. This conversation didn't happen. It's true that there was a moment of transition in the federation because the bosses changed, and that was some transition period that was not really clear what was the goal. Nobody told me that we had to finish in the top 8 or whatever. But it's true that we ended up ranking in my first year European Championship in 6th position, and last season in 11th. And probably finishing in 11th position was one of the reasons why I got fired. So we are still talking about results. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other reasons why I didn't keep the job, but I'm pretty sure too that it matters when you rank. My personal opinion about that, after my experience, is that we are in the business of winning and developing. And at the same time, I think there's two sides of the same coin, winning and developing. But we should never allow winning get in the path of development. I think that should be the priority, talking about the youth level. Of course, in a professional team can be different for too many reasons, because sponsors are not going to think if you are playing with young guys or not. They just want to win for your city or whatever, having a clear expectation or being promoted. But that's pretty much it. I think we should focus on developing and from a winning perspective every single time. So educating winning is important. The thing is what you understand by winning, what the player understands by winning. Maybe winning is not outscoring the opposing team, but doing better every day. That's one thing that you can link winning and developing. From the federation, I think here in Hungary, what we have to focus on is being consistent. Because, for example, now we have a good generation that is going to be the next under 20, probably I think the best generation in the last, I don't know how many years, but since I'm here for sure. And they have a great opportunity to promote to Division A. And I think that's going to be beneficial for the rest of the players, because we should focus and be obsessed on putting the talent in the best environment, the most competitive environment. And that for sure is Division A, not Division B. So that should be the goal of the Hungarian Federation, in my opinion, but you have to be consistent. And for being consistent, there's nothing that depends on the national team by itself. I think it's all about clubs, competition, and coaches. I mean, the daily basis of the players. You cannot do magic in 1 month. They are with their clubs during 9 months, and that's where the level has to be increased.
Yes. To follow this thought, Mark, what do you think? What is the main mentality behind developing young players in today's perspective or system? Is it supposed to be rather raising leaders, or rather creating a good atmosphere and creating a good team?
My opinion is this sport is a team sport. So I think first come is team unit. Then we can think about the players who can be leaders in that team, that captains, that or everything. But I think the most important thing is the team, for sure. And this year it's a little bit different because here in that we don't have in under 23 a real group of working daily. So I think the hardest thing here is let the players know that the team comes first and not the individual staffs. So it was hard in the beginning, but it was not that much because these guys is seeing every day. They are working every day together, individual team practices with the bigs, with the under 21, with the under 19. So they are seeing each other every day, and it's make it a little bit easier. But they trust everybody. They're not selfish, and that's a big part of success. And I think it's the chemistry is the one of the important thing to go everything well, or not well, easier.
Yeah, actually, this is a paradox if you think like this, because we are looking for good players, and we are looking for good leaders and players who can reach always a higher level, and still at the weekdays, if I can say like this, then we are rather creating a good team. How do you feel about this?
I mean, there is tough moments during the year, and it seems in some games where everybody is coming from the first team and the under 19, and they come together to play, and it's hard to be a unit. But I think when you want to explain them that okay, it's nice to everybody wants to put everything on, but or they want to solve it by themselves because they think that is the best way. But if you can make them understand that it's not gonna work like this, that we need to be a unit, so we are a team, and we need to help each other. And if you don't shoot the ball, you need to get all the rebounds, you need to play hard defense, you need to pass well to your teammate, because the team comes first.
I see. Okay, thank you very much. Carlos, let's talk about the roles a bit, please. When you started your under 20 preparation for the European Championship, then you had some players who was playing already at the first league in Hungary, or they were playing already in the USA. How would you define their roles? I mean, at the youth level, they are often expected to do actually everything. They're supposed to create, they're supposed to score, and supposed to be a leader of their team. And at the senior level, their roles are dramatically changed. They're supposed to only take the open shots and give their best in their defense. Who's supposed to give their defense, freedom, or how would you make it clear to them to make that big change from the youth level to the senior ones?
That's probably the hardest thing to manage in the evolution of a player, the step in senior basketball. That's where in every country, every single club struggles with this aspect. For what I've seen so far, I think the best way is to transition, to evolve naturally and step by step. So the sooner the player joins the senior team, the better, because he can have these two different roles and he can see what's coming and he can prepare his mind for this big obstacle, because it's a huge obstacle when you are, like you have said, the main role in your team, and all of a sudden you don't even step on the court, or just taking threes and being yelled at when you make the minimum mistake, and you see how the veteran is doing the same mistakes and nobody is yelling at him. And that for a young player is really, really hard. That's why I think that if we have talent in the academies or the clubs, young, that we see that the evolution can be potentially a player for the first team, just involving them in the practices as soon as possible. Because if they don't have these two roles at the same time, the change is going to be so huge that maybe they cannot manage that mentally. I believe in opportunities if you deserve it. That's why I think, for example, this change of rule in first division this year, I love it, because it's not mandatory for a player to play if he's not prepared. And what happened with this under 23 rule was, right? Yeah, that players without being able to compete at the first level, they were lowering the level of the league just because this rule. And you could see how the strategy was totally screwed, because the opposing team was trying to attack this player. So the game strategy was, not realistic. I really believe we don't have these kind of rules in Spain in first division. So the young talent who is going to be promoted for first division, it's only and exclusively the ones who deserve to be here.
Yep.
And for that, you have to work your ass off, period. And for example, right here, we have the red group that Mark knows better than me, that in my opinion should be exclusively for young talent. Some veterans for helping the evolution of these guys, but only for young talent. So then you can have a normal evolution for knowing what professional basketball is, with some big role, and then transition to first division for having a secondary role or more, totally different. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I see. And what do you think? What kind of roster, what kind of culture allows to the young players to be successfully integrated? I mean, like, if you would just put 5 young players into a senior level lineup only, I don't know, for 5 minutes in a game, it couldn't work because they are not ready to play together. So how
Yeah.
would you work with it?
First things first, I think the young prospect, for me, the most important part is here. It's not about skill set or even decision making. Is how you handle adversity and how bad you want to be a professional player, how you respond to feedback. If you got what it takes, it doesn't matter the environment. If you have a veteran who is a sassy pain in the ass for the young guys, you're going to handle that because you're tough mentally. If you have a veteran who is trying to include the young players and correct them and embrace them and give positive feedback, okay, you can handle that. But it's your mindset, it's the way you approach this, what is going to make you successful or not. It's not the environment, it's your mindset. That has to be taught in the young level, not when they already get to the first team. That has to be taught during under 16, under 18, and even before. So you have to, as a coach, as a youth coach, you have to test the mentality, the toughness of the players, especially the prospects, because if you see that they cannot handle adversity, that they cannot handle a feedback or any kind of situation, that it's an obstacle, they won't probably make it.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'd like to ask you, because one of the priorities of that long-term, like season-term goal was to build into the system as many young players as you just can. How does it look like in a daily work, in a daily routine?
I think it's I'm totally with Carlos in what he say, and the most important thing that they need to know it is there is no gifted moments in the team. So if you are in the first division, you need to work harder than the others, than the veterans, and put a different energy. You need to be different on that team. Sometimes most of these players, they are good at in some aspects of skills. They are shooting well, or they have a good 1-by-1, but there is not enough for this. If you cannot play, for example, defense, you cannot play. You cannot play in the league, because the league is like every team go for the I don't know how to say, go for the bad defender, or go for the bad player. And first, I think is we are doing a great job here, because we are putting the young players to his last, or I don't know, we are putting them in situations that it's hard to handle. And as a coaches, as a staff, we are there to help them. It's not easy for them sometimes, what Carlos say, because yelling, because everything, and we are not doing it the same with the veterans players, but they need to learn it. They need to put themselves to our hands. I think this is one of the important things, because we are not here to disrespect them. We are there to make them improve, because we want them to play one time or once in the first division, or somewhere professional. But I think this is the hardest thing, and everything is coming, what Carlos said, in here, in their minds. And there is a very good book about this, talking about, I don't know if you know it, Atomic Habits of James Clear. He's telling about take away these bad habits, because there is no time to think about them. If you wake up and the first thing you are doing is watch the phone, or I don't know, bad habits, you need to take out of your life, because there is no time, and that's what is. You need to work as nobody.
And who do you think can teach them to think like this, to work with a good ethic? I mean, like for the players, this is not always the best opportunity to play in the first division team, but rather going to the second division because they want to play, they want to have more minutes, they want to have not that tough practices, not having all the time yelling against him. So
Yeah.
they just choose the easier way. Do you think like from the high school when they go to the university, this is a huge routine changing? I mean, you can manage your time for your own, and you will have more individual practices, you will have more strength and conditioning practices, absolutely changing absolutely change the whole routine of your day. Who do you think supposed to teach them how to live with it, how to improve it with it?
I think I want to talk what we did in Spain, or what is the mentality in Spain. And Carlos, if you want to say something about it, just interrupt me. Here in Hungary, what I feel sometimes is we are putting sometimes a lot of, like, we are just grabbing and put some, I don't know, we are digging him down a little bit. And in Spain is, I think, totally different, or which coaches I work on it. We need to support them every time. Only when you see that they are not working well, you can gel him. But if something miss or something that he cannot do, just support them, because what you say, they have a lot of distractions, high school, university, and you need to make their life a little bit easier for this. If you just gelling and don't give them solutions, is hard, and this is the best way to do when you are doing like individual trainings or small groups, small group trainings to help them each other. No matter what you are doing, defense, offense, what you are doing, you need to help them and teach them. Not just basketball, hard working, everything. I think this is the most important.
I want to say that I'm totally agree with you, that I think the best thing that you can do as a coach is to punish the lack of effort, and the worst thing that you can do as a coach is to punish the lack of talent.
Yeah.
And I've seen sadly here some coaches yelling, punishing mistakes about decision making when the kid or the player is trying so hard, and of course that drains the player into a hole that it's just a matter of time that he wants to quit, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He was
I would like
paying
to say,
attention. He was paying many attention for the off-court development, if I can say like this, at the youth teams. Could you tell us a bit about this?
This is funny because I'm really close to these guys. So I'm 25 years old, and I can understand sometimes what they happening in the day of these guys, and most of these things is like frustrations. It's like don't make the, or don't hit the rim, or just drive and lose the ball. It's like no sense to think about it. It's part of the development of the player. Missing. Everybody is missing. Curry missed more 3-point shots than everybody in this world, and he is the best shooter, I think, in the world. So you need to live with that mistakes and be as a friend. the mistakes are friends for you, and they're gonna stay there every time, but you need to handle it. And everything that you cannot control is not in your hands. I can change my age. I'm 25 years old. I can do nothing for it, and I don't think about it. So I think the players is the same. If you miss something that you cannot change, don't think about it. Just think for the next play, hard defense, hard rebounding, make that shot, or whatever you want.
And Carlos, how can you help for your players? I mean, I rather think of your youth players to develop off the court and be ready for taking part of the mental work.
I think the first thing that you have to do is just make sure that they know that you care. Once they know that you care, they are open to be yelled at or whatever, or to be impacted. Yeah, but first things first, they have to know that you care about them. That has to be genuine, because if you fake it, they're going to notice. So it's part of your philosophy as a coach, if you're a caring coach or you don't give a damn. But if you do, if you care, it's easier to impact them. I think the only way that we have to impact is by example. So if the players see that you are overworking, they're going to follow you. If they see that you are the first in the gym, they are going to come earlier because you are there. If they see that you are reading in the bus, maybe they grab a book next time. So you're going to be a role model, an example of these off-the-court things. Then if you do those things, then you can demand them. If not, it's impossible. Yeah. So first example. And I mean, you have to base your advices on science. And for making science-based advices, you have to learn things. So if you go to a player with information about how beneficial is having a routine before sleeping, going to bed at the same time every single time, waking up and doing this and that, and building, like James Clear says in these systems of habits, and you do it easy and etc. I mean, you can impact them with science-based things. For example, talking about sleeping, that I'm saying, if they understand that the risk of injuries is going to decrease, that the amount of free throw shots that they're going to make is going to increase, maybe they are open to listen. So first, you have to study things for being able to talk properly to the kid. And second, you have to set the example.
Okay, thank you very much. Mark, I'd like to ask you about the loading and the schedule of the players, because right now at the Delts, but the case is pretty similar at other clubs too. They are playing in a second and the first division too, and the load and the program is not always the same as for the senior players and for the senior team. How can you optimize that you're supposed to pay attention for their rest? I mean, as a under 23 coach, or rather the senior coach supposed to pay attention to this? And I would have a question based on an idea that would it be easier to take rather or lead rather more individual or more small groups practices, and I don't know, 3 times per week team practices, or it couldn't work? How do you manage this?
Starting a little bit with the first question, it's not just me, it's everybody. Everybody is working hard. We have the physical personnel to every coaches. you, Frushi, Kadi, everybody is just thinking about how can we manage these guys to not get overload. Yeah, it's really hard because most of these players is playing under 19, then they have under 21, under 23, and then they make the whole training with the first team, and it's not easy because we need to be clear with every player to what we want. Sometimes they come to the gym, they make the first part, and then they need to rest because they have like practice with his team. What you say from the next, I think both can live with that. Individual programs and also small team groups can help with this. We used to work like this Monday until Wednesday. Everybody is working with first division. In the morning we get some tough with the young guys doing some individual stuff or like little team practices. Everybody is helping. The staff also, who is not part of the first team staff, also they are helping us to work with these guys, and we are very paying attention of the load of these players. Maybe they cannot play 35 minutes what all coach want for his, I don't want to say best player, but the important, but you need to handle it, and you need to put faith in the other players, because what I said and what Carlos said, we are not individual, we are just a team, and we know that everybody can help to the team, and this is also important to not overload in the games the players.
I mean, I don't want to be rude, but if you think in long term, how could we manage this, like with not only surviving day by day, but rather building us some system what can work consistently? I mean, I ask both of you, what can you see? Where does it work pretty well? Or is there any club where it works well in Hungary?
I think Deac is not doing this year. So they are doing this by 5 or 6 years the same, and maybe trusting a little bit in more young players, or develop the young players to have more players and give them rotation. I think this is one of the ways to improve, but like everything, we can improve in everything. I don't know, Carlos, what you think about it?
I think there's a pretty scary thing that these tests that the federation does yearly about the athletic condition of the players.
Yes.
There's a lot of players that after their youth era, their numbers drop like crazy, and that says that we are doing things that nebulous, because maybe they have the chance to work for the first team, but they are clearly overloaded. I think that's something that this country has to improve, because there's an alarm. For me, this is mind-blowing, because we are killing the players in the first years of their senior basketball career. And I have some of my players who are right now in first division that their numbers have decreased crazily. So that's something that we have to look for and I mean, study deeply for do things differently. I don't know the solution. I'm not an expert. I don't have a degree in conditioning, strength and conditioning. All I know is from my experience, but I think we have great professionals in this aspect that can build a program for the whole country, and not only for the clubs, but for the whole country. And I'm talking about the under 20 league. I don't know how beneficial that is. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. All I see is that most of the teams are not having team practices, and they have some bunch of players that come from different teams competing without a clear idea system. But the clubs are still proud when they win the under 20 championship, and they don't even have practices together. So it's nonsense that we have to think about. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the solution. I wish I had the solution, but I don't.
Okay. I don't know if someone will have it, then maybe he will or she will text to us, and then let's see. I was just wanted to here. I just wanted to talk about this because I think this is one of the biggest issue right now, and this is why I just wanted to mention it because I think this is very important. For the last topic, please, Coach. Carlos. Let's talk about the, if I can say like this, of the paradox of the having a 1-year contract and taking the risk of building young players into the team. Because as a coach who has only 1 year to show up, is very difficult to take the risk of the young players. How do you think could coaches manage this? And or is it the responsibility of the coaches, or would it be rather for the bosses or the manager, the general manager of the club?
I think it's responsibility of the clubs. Coaches, we have a contract. We are pushed to win. We have some bonus in our contract if we win. And for winning, you have to put your best players on court. Maybe your philosophy as a coach, it turns that you believe in future and young talent and you want to develop. Like, for example, I will do. If I'm the head coach, I love young talent, and I would give the opportunity to those players who have, more future than others. But if I have the front office in my back telling me that I have to win, and if I lose 3 games in a row, I'm going to be fired, then sorry, young fella, but you're not going to play. So it's simple as that. That's why I think the club has to take accountability on this. And if they want to build a team with identity and based on the young talent that it's promoted from the city, etc., they are the ones who have to tell the head coach to put the young talent on court. Regardless, if you win, you lose, whatever. I think we have some programs here that are based on young talent oriented, like for example, Debrecen. I think that's a clear example. You have young guys that I've coached in the national team playing in first division with a big amount of minutes and bigger roles. I don't know if my friend Akos is secure with his job, if he puts the young or not. I wish he is, and nobody's pushing him to win. But I think that's the clear path. If clubs think long term, the evolution of the league is going to be better in 5, 6, 10 years. If we think short term and we just care about winning, then it's going to be the same shit. Sorry. But it's going to be the same shit. Year by year, we're going to have 5 American players coming, 5 American players going, and the level of the league is going to be up and down depending on the talent of the generations. Only thinking long term. I wonder how crazy it would be if a club, instead of putting in the contract, writing down that the head coach or the staff is going to get some bonus if they win the cup or they win the league, what if they get some bonus for putting the young talent on court? I don't know. I'm just wondering, maybe I'm crazy. But I have to say that I was working in the youth program in this country before for 5 years, not anymore. And I had bonus for winning in my contract. How crazy. I mean, I didn't complain because I won, but
Come on.
But honestly, I mean, how crazy is that you have bonus for winning in a youth program? Yeah, makes no sense. I was not going to say my boss, hey, I think that's not good. Yeah, because I received some benefits for that. But I mean, honestly, I didn't focus the job on winning, and I can give you details about that, but we ended up winning, and that was good for me. But I think it's absolutely mind-blowing that a youth coach is rewarded for winning in money terms. Yeah, I think that's just not good. You should be rewarded for putting players in first division. If you want to give some bonus for a youth coach, okay, if you make this, like we have this productivity, how do you call it?
I don't know how do we call it exactly. I mean, in
Something like
English,
that, right?
but yes, we have.
Productivity system that if you put players in the national team or in first division, clubs get some money. Maybe that should be extended to the coaches. Then we are going everybody on the same path, yeah, on the same way. And I don't know, in senior, I think it's a little delusional to think that a club is going to give bonus for the coaches if they put young players on court. But maybe that's the only way to think long term, because head coach would, or sign coaches for 3 years, not for one. Like, for example, Potosnik in Sopron. He's playing with young kids, a lot of them, and he has been there for 3 years developing young talent. Okay, that makes sense. He's a good coach. The program is focusing on long term instead of short term. By the way, they are winning a lot. Yeah. So,
Thank you. What do you think, Mark? My bad. Did I interrupt you? Sorry for this.
No. I was just saying that maybe it's not coincidence.
I'm really go with Carlos. There was like, I don't wanna tell something crazy that it isn't, but Jesus Ramirez was here in Alba Fehérvár, and it was quite the same. They give a lot of credit to the young players. I don't know because the rules, I don't know why, but maybe need to change something, not just winning and winning, to give the league a little bit in higher level. And also the future is the young players. So that's it. I agree with Carlos totally.
If I'm not wrong, Jesus was fired.
Yeah.
I think after 4 months, even he was playing with young talent.
With young.
Yeah.
And he became, I think, yeah.
And right now he's head coach in Eurocup.
Yeah.
Right?
I think.
And ACB, which is probably the most talented league in Europe. So yeah, we need some patience as a nation and as a country and as from clubs' perspective.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your thoughts. And there would be for sure many more interesting questions that arise already. So thank you. Thank you very much for being with me and sharing your thoughts and just taking the time to be here. And always at the end of the talks, what we do in this channel, I usually play some, I don't know, do we call it like flash questions or something like this? And I'd like to ask you to join. Would you be so kind to join for this game?
Of course, Perse.
For sure.
Thank you. Let's start with you, Mark, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
Describe your coaching style in one word.
It's a tough one. Positivity.
Scouting or leading individual practice?
I take both, but individual.
Game or practice?
Practice.
Defense or offense?
Defense, for sure.
Creating something new or upgrading something?
Creating something new.
Okay, thank you very much. Carlos, you ready?
I'm not.
Head coach or assistant coach?
Head coach.
Off court or on court work is more important?
On court.
How to handle the pressure?
Pressure is privilege.
What is the most important thing for you young ones to understand?
That winning is a sacrifice.
How is your coaching style looks like?
Get better every day.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for everything. I'm very grateful to have been welcomed into your work and your thoughts. So thank you very much for Carlos Vallejo and for Mark Kovács. And thank you for everyone who was joining to us today. I hope this is going to be a good beginning of some further conversations. So thank you very much. And please don't hesitate to contact us. I'm pretty sure that all of the coaches, both of the coaches are going to be ready for answer you. Am I right?
Of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So please don't hesitate to contact us and see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.